Hello all, welcome to part 8 of JavaScript for Beginners series. In this session, I am going to explain and practically demonstrate about variables, data types and literals in JavaScript. So let's get started. First of all, I'll start explaining about the variables. What are variables? Variables in any of the programming languages, not only in JavaScript, guys, in any of the programming languages, the purpose of the variables is to store data. Simple. Okay. The purpose of the variables in any of the programming languages is to store the data, guys. For example, what is data? Okay. What is the example of the data? Let's say 9. The value 9 is nothing but a data, guys. Okay. The value 9 is nothing but a data. If you want to store this value 9 or data 9, okay, in JavaScript, using JavaScript programming, if you want to store this data 9, then we have to use variables. So how to use the variables in JavaScript programming languages to store this kind of data 9? I'll give the example here. For example, var, okay, the name of the variable. Okay, var is a declaration, guys. I'll come to that again. So we have to specify var stands for variable. So what is the name of the variable? Let's say name of the variable is a. Okay, is equal to 9. Okay, it looks like simple mathematics here. A is equal to 9 is from mathematics anyhow, but here a is a variable, guys. Okay, and 9 is a value or data. Okay, you are storing the data 9 into this variable a, which is declared with var kind of type. Okay, var means variable. Here a is a variable, and into the variable you are storing 9. But why we have to store the data 9 into the variable a? I'll explain that. So if I have to show you practically, guys, how to store this data, say 9 into a variable like this a or something. Okay, let me open this Visual Studio Code, and here let me create a sample JavaScript file. Okay, let's say demo.js. Here .js stands for JavaScript. Just press enter, guys. The JavaScript file will be created. Now here let's create that particular variable. How to create the variable? I have to say var a. Here a variable got created. To this variable, into this variable, we are storing the data, say 9, by using is equal to 9. Okay, so the data 9. Okay, I'll just increase the font size. Okay, now the data 9 got stored into the variable a. How can we be confirmed? Okay, how can we be confirmed that the variable a is holding the data 9? For that, guys, we will be using the same console.log statement that we were using from long time in the same whatever the series I'm taking you through, right? That's JavaScript series. Okay, JavaScript for beginner series. So I was using this console.log statements, right? So I'll just type this console.log. Inside this, I'll just type a. Okay, here a is a variable, guys. Okay, if I am trying to print this a in the output, you will not see the a as printed, guys. Okay, a will not be printed. Instead, the value or data that is stored into the variable a will be printed in the output, guys. Okay, let's see that. Okay, this is a sample JavaScript code I have written. Okay, this is a sample JavaScript code I have written. Just 2 lines. Here I am storing the data 9 into the variable, and here I am printing the variable. When I am printing the variable a, the data that is stored into the variable a will be printed, guys. Okay, so in the last session I showed you, right, how to run the JavaScript programs, okay, or JavaScript code using the node.js. I'm going to do the same thing. Just click on this terminal, new terminal. Here you will get the terminal, guys. Just wait for a while. You will get this location of this file, demo.js. Yeah, you got the location. VSC files. Under that we have the demo.js. To run this particular JavaScript code using node.js, I have to type node space the name of the JavaScript file, that is demo.js, and press enter. The moment you press enter, guys, it will not print the variable a. Instead, it will print the value or data that is stored into this variable a. You see, instead of a got printed here, okay, the value that is stored into this variable a got printed, guys. Okay, the value that got stored into this variable got, that is 9, got printed, guys. When you print a, the value or data that is stored into the variable a got printed here. What's going on here? How this is happening? Okay, let me explain, guys. Okay, so this kind of data, guys, okay, this kind of data, if you want to, okay, store in programming languages like JavaScript, what's happening is they are using a concept known as variables, right? The programming languages are using a concept known as variables for storing this kind of data. Why? Why they are using? For example, guys, let's imagine there are no variables. What will happen? Okay, let's imagine there are no variables and still you want to store the data. What's the problem? Let's say this is your computer memory, and this computer memory can be divided into multiple slots like this. Okay, let's divide this into several memory slots where the data can be stored. Okay, this is a very big memory, let's say, and we are breaking this entire memory into multiple slots. Okay, let's give some proper spacing. Okay, so that we can type anything we want into these slots. Let's assume these are the memory slots, guys. Okay, let's assume these are the memory slots, and each and every memory slot in the computer memory need to have a unique address. Okay, since there will be lot of memory slots in the memory, the computer may assign a very big or kind of non-rememberable kind of IDs. Okay, unique IDs for address kind of things for the memory slots. Okay, for example, this memory slot may have an address like A123, okay, 001, okay, and this slot may have some address like okay, so 1x, okay, 59, 445, okay, 445, something like that. Okay, each and every memory slot may have some unique address case. Okay, that will be assigned by the computer anyhow. Now let's say we want to store the value or data, say 9. Let's assume that we are assuming that the variable concept is not there. Okay, without the variable concept, let's say the value 9 or data 9 got stored into one of the memory locations. Let's say this particular memory location. Okay, that's good. But guys, now we stored it, but while again we may need this value 9, right? Here in the program also, here we stored the data 9 into the variable a, but later we required this particular 9. Okay, at that time we simply used a. But here tomorrow, okay, after you store this data into this memory slot, tomorrow if you need the same value 9, if you want to access this data out of this memory location, memory slot, can you remember this kind of address? Is it possible to memorize this kind of addresses? No, right? That's why, guys, several programming languages, what they are doing is, okay, they are giving some name. Okay, when you are storing the data using some programming languages into these memory slots, instead of they relying on this kind of unrememberable, non-rememberable kind of memory addresses, they are giving some name to, and they are saying them as variables. Okay, they are giving some names to store this data, and they are calling them as variables case. Okay, var a is equal to 9. Here in this case, if you say var is equal to 9, what happens is when this particular value 9 is getting stored into this particular memory slot having this kind of address which cannot be remembered, okay, a variable is created and is being referred to this particular slot. Now tomorrow, if you want to if you want to retrieve this data 9 from this memory slot, you don't have to remember this memory location, guys, or memory address, guys. Simply you can simply use this variable name to access. The same thing happened here. In order to access this data, you are not providing any memory address of this data where the data is stored in the computer memory slot. Okay, so instead we are simply giving a name that is called as variable name, and we are just accessing it. So guys, you got enough idea, or okay, kind of high level idea what exactly is a variable. Okay, and in any of the programming languages, guys, all the programming languages use variables to store data. Okay, so now you will understand this line. So after this much of explanation, you will understand this particular statement. They are variables are what? Variables are just the names. They are just the names, guys. Okay, like you call me Arun. Okay, you call me Arun. A name is given to me, right? A name is given to me. So they are just the names, guys. Like this, to store the data in the using some different programming languages, we have to use the names known as variables. Variables are nothing but the names given for the memory location where the actual data is stored. Okay, variables are just the names given to the memory location where the actual data is stored. Hope you understood this statement now. Fine. We can use these names for accessing the data later, guys. Like this, we can use this particular names. Here a is a variable name where the data 9 is stored. We can, in the later parts of the program, we can use this name, variable name, to access this particular data. Okay, that's what is the purpose of the variables. Now let's go into more details. Okay, so here guys, let's clear it out. Okay, the same demo.js JavaScript file is there. So guys, there are two parts. Okay, I can write this statement in two parts. If I say var a, okay, simple var a. Here var means variable. Okay, a. Here we are just declaring slash creating the variable only. Okay, we are just creating the variable, guys. Are we assigning any value or data to this variable in this particular statement? Are we assigning any or storing any data into this particular variable? No, right? This statement, okay, this part of the statement is called as declaration statement in general. Okay, here we are declaring the variable known as a. Now in the next line, if I say a is equal to 9, this statement is called as, okay, this statement in programming languages is called as initializing the variables. Okay, initializing the variables means storing some data into the variables is nothing but initializing the variables. Fine. This statement is called declaring the variable. We are just declaring the variable, and this statement is called as initializing the variable with some data. Fine. So I started with like this, right? When I am demonstrating the Java program containing this variables concept, I was writing this statement in a single line. I can break this entire statement, okay? var a is equal to 9 can be broken into, okay? So without breaking, guys, without breaking it, if I say console.log a, okay, if I run this node demo.js, 9 is getting printed. The data that is stored in the variable a is getting printed. Let me break it. Okay, now let me break it like this: var a is equal to 9. I'm breaking the single statement into multiple lines. This part is called as declaration of the variable. This part is called as initializing the variable. Okay, declaring the variable, initializing the variable. Okay, it can be a single statement also. You can break it into multiple statements also like this. Okay, you can break into declaration and initializing statement, or in a single statement you can have the both the declaration and initialization done. But there is no difference, guys. Okay, you will get the same output. Let me run after breaking this statement into two parts. Let me run node demo.js. Still you will get the same output, that is 9. Okay, so what is a better way? Do we have to break and write, or it's better to write in a single statement? Most of the people prefer to write in a single statement because it will save one line, right? You don't have to spread it across two lines. Okay, this looks very simple, right? This part is called as a declaration, and this part is called as a initializing. Okay, initialization. So both the declaration here we have both declaration of the variable and initialization of variable done in a single statement. Okay, both declaration and initialization of the variable has been done in a single statement. Declaring means declaring the variable or creating the variable. Initializing means assigning some data to the variable or storing the data into the variable. Okay, that is called initialization. So this is a better way to write the statements, guys. Okay, so even though you can break that into two lines, or okay, two lines, this is a better way. Okay, this is a better way because you'll be not wasting any more lines. Okay, in single line you got both declaration and initialization. Still this will work. Okay, still this will work. Either you break or you don't break, the thing is going to work. Okay, you got the same output 9. Fine. Okay, now guys, so far, okay, till now I was only storing the numerical value like 9 to this into the variable a. Is it possible to store other type of data? Is it possible to store only numerical values into the variables, or all the type of different type of data we can store into the variables? We can store different type of data, guys. Okay, let's say here I'll say var a is equal to 9 as it is. That's okay. Again I'll create one more variable, guys. It's okay to create any number of variables. Okay, okay, declaring the variable b and initializing with some value. Say this time I'm not going to initialize or store the numerical data into the variable. Instead I'm going to store some string data. Let's say I will store my name. Okay, for numerical data, guys, you don't have to provide these double quotes. Okay, you just don't have to provide these double quotes for numerical data like this. But if you want to store some text data, okay, then you have to surround that particular text with double quotes. Okay, to store the text kind of data, non-numerical text kind of data into the variables, we have to surround that particular data with double quotes. Okay, now let's store one more type of data, guys. There's one more type of data like a boolean data, guys. Okay, so I can say var c is equal to true or false. Only two possibilities, guys. Okay, correct or not correct. kind of true or false. Like only two possibilities are there. Okay, here either you can say var is c is equal to true, or you can say var c is equal to false. Both are same. Okay, so like one is correct and another one is not correct. Only two possible types. This neither a number, it's neither a text, guys. Okay, this particular thing is a neither a number nor a text. It's a boolean data. You have to call this as a boolean data, guys. Okay, so similarly, if I say var d is equal to this one numerical data doesn't have any decimal point. Okay, not always the number will be kind of this format, right? The number can be like this, right? So the number can be 1.23. Here we have some decimal value. This is another type of data, even though it is numerical. Okay, this is not decimal, this is a decimal value. Okay, decimal value. Okay, so any type of data can be stored into the variables, guys, not only just the numbers. Okay, like this, but you can store the text, you can store the boolean values. Okay, so different type of data can be stored into the variables. Fine, here we have created var is equal to 9, b is equal to run motor, c is equal to true, d is equal to 1.23. Different type of data. Let's try to print them, guys. Console dot log of a. Okay, what should be printed, guys? When I say console.log, when I run this JavaScript program, what should be printed in the output? Okay, what should be printed in the output? It should print 9. If I say console.log of b, when I print b, the data that is stored in the variable b, that is Arun Motu, should be printed in the output. If I say console.log of c, the boolean data true should be printed. Okay, as it is. If I say console.log of d, the decimal numerical data, that is 1.23, should be printed as it is. Now let's run this program, guys. Node space demo.js. Press enter. You see, as you can see in the output, okay, the a was okay. When you print a, the data 9 got printed. When you print b, the textual data, that is Arun Motori, got printed. The textual data, you remember, guys, have to be provided between the double quotes. Okay, other data is not required to be provided between the double quotes, but text data should be provided between the double quotes. Okay, now the third one is boolean data. You see, it got as it is printed. That's okay. And here the fourth one was a decimal numerical value, that is 1.23, that got also printed as it is. Okay, so this proves that we can store any type of data into the variables, okay, without any problem. What's next? So next thing is assigning values to multiple variables in a single line. Okay, so here, guys, is there any way we can reduce the number of lines? Okay, is there any way we can reduce the number of lines here? Okay, here I'll just close this terminal, guys. I'll open it again. So here var is equal to 9, var b is equal to Arun Motori, c is equal to true, var d is equal to 1.23. How many lines got consumed already? 4 lines. Okay, is it possible to create all these variables in a single line and initialize them in a single line instead of this number of 4 lines? Yes, it's possible, guys. Simply put a comma here. var a is equal to 9 comma. Just cut paste it. I'm just cutting and pasting, guys. Again put a comma. Third one, cut paste it. Then again put a comma and cut paste this one, last one. Okay, so you don't have to create so many lines to create that many number of variables. All the variables can be created and initialized in the single line. Okay, var a is equal to 9 comma b is equal to Arun Motori, c is equal to true, d is equal to 1.23. Still this will work. Okay, still this is going to work. Let me open the terminal again. Okay, fresh terminal. This time again, let's run the code. How to run the code using node.js? Say node space demo.js. Press enter. You see, A is printing 9, B is printing Arun Motori, C is printing true boolean value, and D is printing 1.23. Okay. In a single line, we can create and initialize all the variables. That's also possible. Okay. Fine, guys. Hope, guys, you understood what are variables now. Okay. This is all about the variables I wanted to explain. Now let's move on to the next section of this same session. After variables, I said like I will be explaining about data types. Okay, I said I will be explaining about data types. So let's begin. Okay, so what are data types? Data types, there are no specific data types in JavaScript, guys. Unlike other programming languages like Java, okay, we don't have a strict data types in JavaScript. Okay, so that's why we call the JavaScript as a dynamically typed language. Okay, since there are no specific data types, For example, guys, in Java, if you have to store some value, say 9, into a variable, say a, you have to create like this: int a is equal to 9. In Java, guys, this is in Java. Okay. If you are talking about Java programming language, if you have to store this data 9 into the variable a, you have to declare this particular variable with int data type. But let's say if I have to store 1.23 in Java, I cannot use int, guys. In that case, I cannot use int in Java. Instead, I have to use something known as double. Double a is equal to 1.23, I have to say. Here in Java, I have to declare the variable with a particular data type based on the type of the data you are storing into that particular variable. Okay. In Java, we have to declare that variable with a specific data type like double or something based on the type of the data you are storing into the variable. If you are storing the numerical value 9 into the variable, you are declaring the variable with int data type in Java. Okay. If you are trying to store decimal value like 1.23 into a variable, you are declaring that variable with double data type. Okay. For example, if I have to store Boolean data like true or false into a variable in Java, we have to say Boolean. Okay, a is equal to either true or false, any of the Boolean value you have to say. So based on the data you are providing the variable, right? We are providing the data type in Java kind of programming languages. But JavaScript is not like Java, guys. Okay, it's different. And JavaScript is a dynamically typed. That means you don't have to really specify this kind of data types. Okay, like int, double, boolean in JavaScript. Okay, so there is single thing known as var. Okay, whatever the data you want to store into the variables, just declare the variable with var. That's all is enough, because JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. Unlike Java, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language where you don't have to specify a particular data type here. For all the type of the data, you have to give the var. That's it. Okay, var a is equal to 9 will work. Var b is equal to, okay, 1.23 will work. Okay, 1.23 will work. Var c is equal to, okay, where c is equal to true or false will work. Okay, where d is equal to, there's no particular data type, guys. Okay, you don't have to declare this a b c d variables with a particular data type based on the type of the data you are storing into the variables. Okay, that's not required in JavaScript. Okay, even you can store the textual data without worrying about the type of the data you are storing into the variable, because for all the variables in JavaScript you will use a single keyword known as var. That's it, simple, done. Okay, that's why JavaScript is known as dynamically typed language. Okay, as I already demonstrated here, you see A is storing 9, but still var is mentioned. B is storing text like Arun Motor is still var is mentioned for B. C is storing true, but still var is mentioned for C. D is storing 1.23, still var is mentioned for D. So there is no particular strict data type. JavaScript is not a strict data type language. Rather, it is a dynamically typed language which can store any type of data into the variables which are specified with the simple keyword known as var. That's it. So that's all about the data types, guys. Nothing much in JavaScript. Okay. Fine. Next one. After variables and data types, we have to know something about literals. What are literals actually? We have discussed about the variables, but what exactly are the literals? What are really the literals, guys? Literals are nothing but the data, guys. Okay. Whatever the data you are trying to store into the variables, right? Those are nothing but the literals. Anywhere in any programming languages, guys, literals are nothing but the data that you are trying to store into the variables. Okay, there are different type of literals if you come across, like 9 is a literal. Okay, 1.23 is a literal, a different type of literal. This is a numerical literal, this is a decimal literal. Okay, here it is a text literal. Okay, this is a text literal. This is a Boolean literal. Even false is also Boolean literal. So there are different type of literals. These are nothing but literals, guys. Okay, you just need to know that whatever the data you are saying, right, the data is nothing but literals. There are different literals, numerical. Okay, so this is called as number. Okay, this nine literal is called as a number in JavaScript. 1.23 is also not segregated, guys. It's also called as a number in JavaScript. Okay, so here this is called as string, this is called as a boolean. Okay, in JavaScript, the JavaScript calls this numbers like 9 or 1.23. It will not segregate like it is a numeric, it's a kind of non-decimal number or decimal number. It will not say that. Both 9 and 1.23 are numbers only in case of JavaScript. Okay, they're called as numerical literals. Okay, here this is string literal and this is Boolean literal in JavaScript. Anyhow, to find out, okay, to find out the literals, okay, what literals can be called in JavaScript. there is a kind of predefined function in JavaScript, guys. I'll show you what is that. So using that, we can find out what is the type of the literal. Okay. So the function is known as type of. Okay, type of function. I'll explain more about functions in the upcoming sections, guys. Okay. Here is a predefined function, guys. You'll understand what is this function. Okay. It's a predefined. Okay. It's not like we are creating this function. It's like JavaScript has a predefined function like type of. You can use this from the JavaScript itself. Okay. You'll understand more about functions in the upcoming sessions, guys. But for now, blindly follow this, okay, to find out the type of literal types, okay, based on the data. For example, if you pass this 9 and to this type of, it will give you the name of the literal in JavaScript for this, what JavaScript will call this literal as, okay, you will find it out, okay. Just for that purpose, you have to use this type of. So anyhow, let's get started using, guys, okay. Here, we are saying A is equal to 9, B is equal to arithmetic, C is equal to true, and D is equal to 1.23, right? Simple. When we are printing console.log of A, the data that is stored in the A is getting printed here as 9 here, right? Instead of that, what we'll do is we'll surround this particular A with type of A. Here, this time the data will not be printed, guys. Instead of 9, okay, instead of 9 getting printed, it will print the literal type of A. Okay, type of A will give you the literal type of the A. Okay, so let's run this once. Okay, I'll just keep the BCD as it is. You will still get arithmetic to 1 to 1.23, but for you will not get 9 here. Okay, for the first statement will not print 9 into the output. Instead, it will print the literal type of A. Okay, what is the literal name of the A? It will print. Okay, of the data that is stored in A. I'll simply say node demo.js, guys, and press enter. You see what is the literal type of A? JavaScript is calling this the data 9 as number literal. Okay. Similarly, I'll add this type of to all the other data. Okay, all the other type of data like B, C, and D. Okay. Here also I'll add. I'll try to print the type of C also, and here type of D I'll print. So we'll come to know what are the what are these literals called as in JavaScript. Okay, based on the type of the data, what are these literals called in JavaScript? We can find out. Okay, so let me run this again. Sorry, I'm typing here. Let me type here node demo.js and press enter, guys. The first one, that is number 9, data 9 is called as a number literal in JavaScript. Okay, what about this textual data like Arun motor, which is surrounded with double quotes in okay. Okay, that particular thing is called a string, as I already mentioned. This true is called as boolean. And again, 1.23 is also not a separate thing from 9, guys. 9 or 1.23 are called as number literals in JavaScript. Okay, this one is called as string literal. This one is called as boolean literal. Okay, those are called as literals, guys. Okay, hope you understood what are literals now. Okay, literals are nothing but the data that we are storing into the variables. Okay, final thing is final thing. Okay, let's do an anatomy of this particular single statement. Okay, that is we are creating a variable like this, right? var is equal to a, declaring of the variable is done. Now we are initializing the that particular variable a with some value, say 9. Okay, like this. Okay, var is equal to 9. So in this particular statement, guys, okay, var is the data type. Okay, since JavaScript is not strictly typed language, okay, var can be specified for any variable, even though any type of data is stored into the particular variable. Okay, unlike Java, other programming languages like Java, you don't have to create a specific data type here. var is a common data type. Okay, so this is the data type, we can say var is the data type, whereas a is the name of the variable name, is equal to, what is this equal to sign? Equal to sign is the operator in Java, guys, and 9 is the literal. Okay, so if I have to give some naming convention to each of these things, okay, so what we will call them? So first one, var is the data type. Okay, in JavaScript, var is the data type. It's a dynamically typed data type. Okay, there you already understood. Okay, a is the name, variable name. Okay, simple. This is the variable name. This is a variable name. You can call it as a variable also. Okay, variable name, and is equal to is the operator, guys. Okay, it's the operator. There are several other operators in JavaScript, guys. This is the first operator we are experiencing right now. In the next session, I am going to demonstrate a lot of operators in JavaScript. Okay, the next session is all about the operators in JavaScript, guys. For now, only one operator we are using, that is equal to. What is the purpose of this equal to operator in JavaScript? It will assign this particular data to this variable. Okay, it will store this particular data into this variable. Okay, the data which is there on the right side will get stored into the variable name which is on the left side. That is the purpose of this operator in this statement. That's fine. Okay, let's understand more about this operators in the next session anyhow. this 9, the value 9 is nothing but, the data 9 is nothing but called as literal, guys. Okay, you have to call this 9 as a literal. Okay, which literal? Number literal in JavaScript. Okay, it's called as number literal. If you are storing some text data like Arun Motor is surrounded with double quotes, that is called a string literal. Okay, anyhow, this data is nothing but literal. Is equal to is the operator, a is a variable. Okay, here var is the data type. Okay, var is the data type. Fine, that's all good for now. Okay, and one more thing. Okay, the final thing I want to explain as part of this session. V A or I A B L E variable. Okay, the session is all about variables, data types, and literals, right? But why it is called as a variable, guys? Okay, why we are calling it as a variable? What does variable means? Variable means which changes, right? Varies. Okay, it changes. It will not be the same always. Variable means something that changes. So that means where this particular A is changing, where this particular A is changing. Let me demonstrate. Okay, let me demonstrate. Here, guys, I'll remove all these statements and I'll just remove all these things also. I'll simply say console.log of A. Okay, why we are calling this A as a variable? What does variable means actually? Variable means something that changes. Now, guys, when we are initializing this data 9 into this variable A, okay, 9 is stored into the variable. But in the next statement, I will say A is equal to, okay, A is equal to 13. Now, if I run this program, what will be printed in the output? Okay, let me just restart the terminal once so that the whole data will be lost. It's fine. So, guys, if I run this JavaScript code now, when I print A, what will be printed? 9 will be printed, data 9 which is stored into the A will be printed, or the next statement I'm assigning another data into the variable A. That 13 will be printed here. What will be printed? What do you think, guys? What will be printed? As this A is nothing but a variable, guys. That means the value can be changed. Here, initially we are assigning the data say 9 into the A, but in the next statement, we are changing the data A. So if I run this code, 13 will be printed in the output. Okay. Node demo.js. What will be printed? 13 will be printed. Why? Because this is a variable, guys. Variable can change the data. Okay. Whatever the latest data. Okay. Whatever the latest data you are assigning to this variable A, that value will be stored into that value will be referenced by this variable. Okay. What's happening exactly in the memory? I'll explain now. Let's say these are the memory slots, right? I'm not drawing very big diagram this time. So simple, simple diagram I'm drawing. Okay, just break this into only few slots. Let's say this is a computer memory, and initially you said what? var a is equal to 9. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so because of this JavaScript statement, what happened is, let's say into one of the memory slots in computer memory, the data 9 got stored, and to this 9, okay, this 9 which is stored into this memory slot is referenced, okay, is referred to by this variable name known as a. Because of this statement, A is referring to this. Currently, A is referring to this data 9. That's fine. Okay. Tomorrow, what you are saying, the next line, what you are saying A is equal to 13. Okay. Since A is a variable, it can accept any number of times it can accept the data. Okay. And it will store only the latest data. Why? The moment you say A is equal to 13, this 13 will also store somewhere in the data, guys. Okay. Somewhere in the memory, 13 also will be stored. But this time, you are pointing this A to 9 or 13. You are pointing this A to 13. What about the old pointing? This will be lost. The moment you point A to the new value, say 13 in the memory, the A which was referring to the older value, the reference link will be lost. Okay, this link is lost. Okay, when you say A is equal to 13, A is pointing to 13. Okay, this old link is lost. Now, when you say console.log of A is not no more linking to 9, guys. Okay, A is currently linking to 13. So 13 will be printed in the output. That's what is happening in this program, guys. That's why, okay, if you declare a particular name with a variable, okay, in that particular variable, okay, the data can be changed. Okay, that variable can change, guys, adapt. It can adapt to a different value. That's why we call that as a variable. Hope you are able to understand why we are calling it as a variable. So, guys, that's all. Let's not drag it more. Okay, whatever I wanted to explain, I explained in this session about the variables, data types, and literals. Okay, variables, data types, and literals in JavaScript. I simply covered it out. Okay, all the basics, all the things that whatever I wanted to cover about these variables, data types, and literals are covered now. In the next session, we are going to look into the operators, guys. Okay, all the complete list of operators in JavaScript we are going to look in the next session. So that's all for this session, guys. Thank you. Bye.